Good morning, students. Welcome to online MOOC lecture series, an initiative taken by LJ Institute of Pharmacy for imparting online education to students. I am Dr. Jignesh Shah, working as professor in the Department of Quality Assurance at LJ Institute of Pharmacy. In today's class, we will be starting with a new topic, that is ICH guidelines, which belongs to the subject, that is quality assurance. In today's class, we will be covering following topics, that is introduction to ICH guidelines, objectives of ICH guidelines, steps involved in harmonization of ICH guidelines, and different types of ICH guidelines. Now, first we'll be starting with the introduction of ICH guidelines. ICH, the full form is International Conference on Harmonization of Technical Requirements for the Registration of Pharmaceutical Drugs for Human Use. So ICH mainly works on harmonization of technical requirements which are necessary for the registration of new drugs. Now, ICH, it is a joint initiative which involves both regulators and research-based industry representatives from Europe, Japan, and US with respect to scientific and technical discussions of the testing procedures which are required to assess and ensure the safety, quality, and efficacy of the medicine. So basically, it is a joint venture which involves members from regulatory authority also, as well as the members from research based industry, and it covers three different regions, or we can say three different countries, that is Europe, Japan, and US. So these, both the regulators as well as research based industry representatives, they will be working on the technical requirements necessary to determine the quality, safety, and efficacy of the medicines. Now we will move to the next part of ICH guidelines, that is the objectives of ICH guidelines. Now the major objective of our ICH guidelines, it is to increase international harmonization of technical requirements. So basically ICH, the members of ICH committee, they always focuses on harmonization of the technical requirements throughout the world, so that throughout the world the technical requirements, it remains the same for assessment of safety, efficacy, as well as the quality of the drugs. And this will ensure that wherever the drug is available throughout the world, it will be safe, it will be effective, and it will be a high quality medicine. So it has been developed throughout the world. So international harmonization of all the technical requirements, it is one of the primary objective of ICH committee. The second most important objective of ICH committee is to harmonize the technical requirements which is necessary for registration of the drug or for the marketing approval of a drug in a particular country. So if all the registration requirements, if they are same throughout the world, then it becomes very easy for the manufacturers to register the drug and to get the marketing approval of the drug in different countries, and by this way we can make medicines available to all the people throughout the world. The third important objective of ICH guidelines is to register pharmaceutical in the most efficient and cost effective manner. So once we have determined all the technical requirements which are harmonized by the regulatory authority, as well as once we have identified the registration requirements which are made similar throughout the world, in that case we can develop most efficient and cost effective manner for providing the drugs throughout the world. So this will help all the pharmaceutical companies to make their management more easy, more efficient, and more cost effective, and this is how drugs can be made more cheaper and it can be provided to all the people throughout the world. And the last objective of ICH guidelines is to promote public health and to prevent any kind of unnecessary duplication of clinical trials which are done on human. So by this way they will control any kind of duplication of clinical trials as well as non-clinical trials, and by this way we can ensure the safety of the drugs on the humans. So by ensuring the safety of the drugs on the humans, we can promote human health also. So this is the last objective of ICH guidelines. So overall, we can say that ICH guidelines mainly focuses on development of quality medicines and providing such kind of quality medicines to humans, and by that way we can reduce the adverse effects on humans by imparting quality drugs to the people. The next part is steps involved in harmonization. Totally, there are 5 steps which are necessary for harmonization. The first step involves preparation of a draft, which is circulated through many revisions until we get a final harmonized draft which gets completed. So, preparation of the draft, it is the first step of harmonization. The second step of harmonization, it involves that the draft which has been prepared, it is signed by the expert working group as agreed upon by the committee members, and later it is forwarded to the steering committee for further signing, which signifies that it has been accepted by all the 6 co-sponsors from US, Europe and Japan. So next is step 3. In step 3, the regulatory sponsors, they will initiate their normal consultation processes to receive the comments worldwide. Now moving towards step 4. In step 4, the steering committee will agree that there is sufficient scientific consensus on all the technical issues, and after that this endorsement to the ICH, it affirms that the guideline is recommended for adoption by the regulatory bodies of all the 3 regions, that is US, Europe and Japan. If you consider all the steps, in that case step number 4, it is considered as one of the most important step, where the steering committee will be deciding that all the technical issues which has been drafted and on which all the members of the world, they have provided the consensus on the technical issues as well as scientific issues, and by that way they will agree upon a common harmonized draft which goes for the final approval from the regulatory bodies of all the 3 regions. So this is considered as one of the most important point in the steps which is involved in the harmonization. After this step, that is final endorsement to the ICH, step number 5 is this entire process, it gets completed when this guidelines, it is incorporated into the national or regional internal practice or internal procedures. So basically the fifth point is implementation of ICH guidelines in a particular country. So once the ICH guidelines gets implemented into a particular country or a region, that is considered as a final step of the harmonization, in which all the countries will be following the same procedure, either with respect to determining the quality, safety as well as efficacy of the drugs. Even the registration processes which is being followed by all the countries will, it will be same through the harmonization by ICH. Now, next is moving towards types of ICS guidelines. ICS guidelines has been divided into 4 different segments. The first is quality guidelines, the second one is safety guidelines, the third one is efficacy guidelines, and the last one is multidisciplinary guidelines. These are the 4 different segments of ICS guidelines. Now, moving towards different types of guidelines, the first guidelines is the quality guidelines. Quality guidelines are those which are related to chemical and pharmaceutical quality assurance. These quality guidelines, it includes procedures for stability testing. It also includes procedure for impurity testing as well as residual solvent analysis which may be present in active pharmaceutical ingredients, pharmaceutical method validation which involves validating an analytical method with respect to different validation parameters such as linearity, accuracy, precision, robustness, ruggedness. So these analytical validation, it also belongs to quality guidelines. Even photo stability testing of the compound, stability testing, it includes accelerated stability testing, long term stability testing, how to produce the stability testing data, evaluation of stability testing data. These are all the aspects which are involved in quality guidelines. So quality guidelines, it provides a detailed insight towards analyzing the compound with respect to its stability as well as with respect to its quality. The second most important guidelines in ICH is efficacy guidelines. Efficacy guidelines are those guidelines which are related to the clinical trials or clinical studies which are performed on human subjects. It involves dose response studies. It involves details about good clinical practices, Also it provides details about informed consent form. Also it provides detailed about investigators brochure, how to prepare investigator brochures, how to perform clinical trials, subject selection, how it should be done in case of clinical studies. So these are some very important areas for performing clinical trials on human subjects. Such details are given in case of efficacy guidelines. So efficacy guidelines mainly focuses on harmonization of scientific requirements which are necessary for the clinical trials which are to be performed on human subjects. The third guidelines, it is the safety guidelines. Safety guidelines are basically those guidelines which are related to in vitro and in vivo preclinical studies. These guidelines, it provides details about animal testing, how to do animal testing, how to do toxicological studies. Also, it gives details about carcinogenicity testing, genotoxic testing of the drug products, and by that way, the safety of the drug it is determined by these guidelines. So, if we want information about how the safety evaluation of a new drug should be done, then this guideline it provides a very important information about safety evaluation of a drug by performing trials on animal subjects. The last guidelines, which comes in ICH segment, it is the multidisciplinary guidelines. It is related to cross-cutting topics which do not fit uniquely in case of quality, efficacy, and safety, but they are totally different topics, such as making a monograph, preparation of a monograph, identifying specific contents of the monograph, amendments of monograph with respect to quality or with respect to assay procedures or with respect to the impurity profiling. Such kind of information they are being given in case of multidisciplinary guidelines. So monograph preparation it is a step ahead towards harmonization throughout the all the countries or throughout all the regulatory authorities of the world. So ICH guidelines it mainly focuses on all these four areas. With this, we complete our topic, that is ICH guidelines. I request you to kindly share, subscribe, and like our YouTube channel, Pharma Ignite, for the constant learning and following our YouTube channel. Thank you very much.